Hello, everyone. Hello, Shy Lady, and hello, Juju. Have to keep up with these names. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Solid Blue Sister, and welcome to My Turn to Talk. Okay, so today's show, Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. Does religion belong in politics? I say no. I mean, it seems like over the years, religion has invaded politics. To me, it seems mainly from the right. And we were supposed to have, the separation of church and state. But I know this conversation is going to evolve into something else. But, why is religion in politics now? I mean, come on. You know? We don't need a priest or a reverend or a pastor or whatever you want to call him or her, call her or him, to tell us what we should and should not do in politics. And likewise, politics have no business in religion. Keep the two separate. Isn't that one reason why the colonists or people fled from England to the colonies to escape King George? Now it's like we're trying to escape each other. So I am just going to open it up because I like to know, what people think. And, and I'm looking at Shy Lady's name, and I am so happy that I don't have to say WBTQ QT, whatever. So, and Juju, that is such a cute little name. You're changing your names too. So, anyway, does anyone want to uh you know I'm right, Shy Lady. You know I'm right about Juju. All right. So, and you know I'm right about your name, the WVT whatever. It sounds like a what do you call it when when you're on
The
you
radio.
get an email. Well, no, on the radio, but when you're on email and people can't just have their name, they're like I could be Solid Blue Sister 2569534.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, so what do you think about church and state and religion and politics? Because it just seems like right now it's getting to the point where it's affecting politics to the point where it's dangerous.
I absolutely do not think it belongs. They should be separated. I have my own experience with the church um, offering its view on who to vote for. About 5, 6 years ago, I belonged to a church that was pastored by a white pastor, a male. And this church at the time was very heavily black, maybe 50-50. And we're talking probably 4,000 members. And the choir was mostly black at the time. And it was around the time that the former president before the one we have now elected was running. And all of the former presidents' history was on blast at the time. The statement about grabbing women by the pussies and um, his whole record of marital status. Rumored. I'm not for sure, but I've heard that he cheated on previous wives. So Anyway, and I believe he's the only president that has ever been married 3 times, 3 different women or whatever.
Hmm.
But I lost respect for this passion. I think several other people lost respect for him, and as a result, a lot of members left. And
Okay, okay, stop because
mhm.
you kind of lost me. So you're saying that you lost respect because he was saying don't vote for this person,
He
or
was
he?
saying vote for him. He kept saying,
Oh,
and
oh,
I
he kept
apologize
saying vote
for
for them. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I apologize for going on a rabbit trail, but his stance was he never came out and said I'm a Republican. His stance was vote for the party, not the person. He acknowledged that this former president was every bit of a vile and disgusting human being, but on the other hand, he said, um, regardless of him being all of that, it's the right thing to do to vote for the party because the party is against abortion. The party is against homosexual marriages. So, therefore, don't worry about the person that's running, worry about the values of the party. That was his stance.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because I have a friend who black who lives in South Carolina, and over the years, he and I, when we've gone back and forth, about the former guy, what have you, not just even about him, but just about, conservatives or Republicans versus Democrats or whatever. Um, his whole thing, he said the same thing. I'm not voting for the person, I'm voting for the party. And I said that makes no sense to me because that person is the face of the party. They are the main face of the party. And if, how can, you stand up here and say that, on one hand, and he was a Bible thumper. He was a Bible thumper. He would quote a Bible verse every, every 5 minutes, in every conversation we had, he would, if I said something, he would throw out a Bible verse, whatever. And I was offended by that. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that, maybe my faith is not that strong, or, I don't, I don't understand the Bible, but yet you're voting for someone who has been, married 3 times, did cheat on all of his wives, says such vile things about people, but you're saying don't vote for the person, you're voting for the party. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. So in so should we just ignore people like Matt, Gates and what he's doing, and say vote for the party? Should we ignore people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the vile things that she says and just vote for the party? No, no, no. If that's the case, then Democrats should leave people like uh um Andrew Cuomo alone, and they should have left Al Franken alone and just dealt with the party and not the person. So I don't know. To me, that's very hypocritical.
Well, I think it's hypocritical because when you have a Republican person who's saying, don't vote for the person, vote for the party, and their biggest stance is always two major things: abortion and homosexuality.
Hmm.
That's always the biggest things that they justify
Hmm.
their reasoning. And in my stance, it's like you can throw that up all you want. You believe in that, but when it comes down to law, it doesn't really matter what you believe because the law is already established that the Supreme Court has given homosexuals the right to have marriage as a heterosexual couple, and abortion is legal. I know there's been talk that Roe versus Wade may be reversed. I hear the talk all the time, but they've been talking about it since 1969, so or 1970, whenever it was first established as a law. I don't remember, but it's been discussed for quite some time, several decades, and I look at a lot of things that the Republicans are doing, even like with these voter rights law. these new laws that they have brought to the attention of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, which is a conservative court, majority conservative, they are allowing these things to go through. So I can't say that their issue with vote for the party is relevant, because the party and the individuals are totally different. They're totally different. They're totally separate. What a person believes in the actual party, and to me, at this point in our nation right now, the Republican Party is not doing anyone who believes in real justice any good. Because when you're trying to reverse voting rights that people have died for, it's not right, and the Supreme Court is validating it. It's wrong to me. It's just
Well, see, and that's another reason why America needs a third party and maybe even a fourth party. But in America, it's just very hard to, have a third and fourth party. Um, you know, uh, over in the UK and some of these other countries that have, various parties, it's easier to deal with what's going on with the Republican Party. But now when you just have two, it's like you're voting for the lesser of two evils. And I was listening to the news yesterday, and I don't know if it was Nicole Wallace on MSNBC who said voters are supposed to be smart. That we always said that voters are smart, but what we're seeing now is just stupidity. And you're absolutely right. The Republican Party, is not doing anyone any good. It amazes me how, if you take something like COVID, the Republicans have come out and just, been against, uh, wearing masks and getting vaccinated and what have you. But all of them are vaccinated. They're all vaccinated. People on Fox News, they've all gotten their shots. Fox News will not allow anyone in the building to work in the building, even a janitor, unless they have been vaccinated. But yet here have Tucker Carlson yelling and bloviating every single day about the left and mask and vaccinations, and yet these people, these voters, these people who are listening to them, you all are dying. You all are dying because you're listening to a party, you're listening to what somebody is telling you that is absolutely wrong, and they're being hypocritical. They don't care about you. The only reason why Republicans, in my opinion, want their their voters to get vaccinated now is because they don't want their voters to die. Their voters are dying. But you're absolutely right. The Republican Party, as much as the Democratic Party has a lot to work on, the Republican Party is like just not just destroying the country in terms of laws and decency and democracy, but they're killing you. And people are listening to them, and I just don't get it. It's more than just drinking the Jim Jones Kool-Aid. I just don't get it. So then you throw religion in it, and if you have a pastor that's going to stand up at the pulpit and say, which some pastors are doing in some churches, saying things like, the vaccination is wrong, the government's trying to control you, whatever. If anybody has the right to be leery of vaccinations and what have you, it should be Black folks. I mean, we have been operated on, we have been tested, poked and prodded since the beginning. I mean, there are thousands of things that have been done to African Americans. If anyone should not believe in a party, it should be us. The lies that we've been told. And I don't think that it's right, or it's the place of religion to tell you how you should think or what you should do on a political scale. They just shouldn't. They just shouldn't. So, Charlotte, I'm going to ask you. You said that church lost members. Did they lose the members where it was noticeable?
Oh yeah, it was very noticeable, and I mean, it was very noticeable, and as well as they, I think they wanted to do a shift in the members as far as demographics, because a lot of the black people left, and they also changed like the choir. They eliminated the choir, which eliminated a whole lot of blacks who were part of the choir, and they eliminated the choir. So blacks left in droves, and from what I understand now, the church, I don't know the percentage, but it's heavily predominantly white and Hispanic now, with very few blacks in attendance.
So
And the pastor is he has left to start another church, but he's still affiliated with that church. He's still kind of like what you might want to call like a bishop over it, but he
so that
has.
pastor was white or black?
Oh, he was white. He was white.
Okay.
And there's a I think a black pastor that's the interim pastor at the moment. They have
Mhm.
not had a pastor as far
Permanent.
as yet exactly. But lots of black people left, and a lot of black people were talking about it. The whole situation with the former guy. A lot of black people weren't feeling him, and it's funny that a lot of the whites were feeling him. As we know, the majority of the people that voted for him were white voters, as we know.
I mean, again, I just say, I truly, just say I don't get it. Back in 2000, when Denzel won his Oscar for, I can't think of the movie now.
Was it Glory?
No,
No, that was in the was that the
that
90s?
that was when he won his supporting Oscar. I'm talking about for the lead.
Oh, was it Training Day?
Training Day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say who this person was, but she said that her pastor, she's black, okay,
Mm-hmm.
said, she got on me for going to see Training Day. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, why can't I see Training? Well, my pastor says that we shouldn't see it because it's violent. And I kind of started laughing. And
Mm.
I said, okay, but did you just go see a movie the other day? That was,
Mm.
I mean, it's, why are you, why do I care what a pastor says? Even if it was my pastor, why do I care? You're not going to tell me what movie I can watch because it is violent. When you look at it, I mean, how many things that do we look at every day where there's just violence, whatever. And then she said, well, Denzel's wife didn't like some of the things that he was saying, that he was using the N word and what have you. And I'm like, Denzel's never been a movie that uses the N word, and I'm going to listen to his wife. At the end of the day, they're still getting paid.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I bet
You know?
she didn't turn down the check that he got for the
Right. She
movie.
didn't turn down the check. The money still came into the
Mm-hmm.
house.
Mm-hmm.
So she's gonna say, well, I don't want him to say that word. Okay, but you're still getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm like, why do I care what your minister says? And she got mad at me. She was offended that
Mm-hmm.
she said that I was attacking her church and her faith. I'm like, you can think whatever you want to, but just even saying that just sounds ridiculous.
And how many times can you cut on the news and see all types of violence?
Exactly.
People being shot, bloodied. Really?
And
Okay.
this is where I say that the hypocrisy of the church comes in. That if you're one of those people who goes to a church where they want to say that this is wrong and this is wrong. Again, I need some help here. What is the name of the church? Reverend Phelps or whatever it is, where they stand outside with plaques at funerals and what have you, saying that this serviceman was gay and God doesn't like gay people, or God doesn't like this, and they stand outside and picket. If you're at a funeral, but you're supposed to be part of a church, really? I mean, and it's dangerous because these churches with these politicians are in bed together, and they're influencing some of the laws that are being passed. They're influencing how politicians uh, do their jobs or don't do their jobs, because you're trying to um, make sure that a group of people are happy. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And pretty soon, you know, um, look at what happened in Salem, the Salem witch trials. You have the church involved in whether or not someone was a witch. You have the church that was involved in that. How many people would not have died if the church were not part of that? And what was crazy about that is during the Salem witch trials, they would tie supposed witches to a chair, and they would dump them into the pond or the river, whatever. And they would say, well, um, they were, if they were a witch, they would be able to save themselves. So we're going to dunk them and see if they're able to save themselves. Well, they kept them underwater long enough where the people drowned. It was just ridiculous. And again, there's the church coming in saying, this is what you have to do. The church was the one who says you're going to wear a scarlet, letter on your chest, if you commit a sin or adultery. Once again, here comes the church. I go to church. Um, I believe in the Bible. I believe in God. But I do think that there's a line that you cannot cross. And that line has crossed so much. So many people have crossed that line, especially within the last 5 years. And it's only getting worse. So I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just a whole lot of hypocrisy in both in politics and in the church. Is it's the way it is. Lots of false teachings. Um, lots of false teachings in politics as well.
Well, it's interesting. I read that article that you sent over about SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. May block anything that Dems do on voting rights.
Yeah.
Um, and once again, you're shaking your head. And first of all, I say, what are you so afraid of if we have voting rights? I mean, you all are already on the Supreme Court. You're not going anywhere, okay, unless you drop dead. You know, um, even though one particular person seriously needs to be removed and never should have been on there, and I'm talking about Kavanaugh. But you aren't going anywhere. So this is where I say, and this is what frustrates me about Biden. Get off your um bipartisan, we all are going to kumbaya, we're all going to love each other, and appoint 3 more justices to the Supreme Court. And he needs to do it this year. Because if you do want your agenda to get passed, you're going to need those 3 justices. And those 3 justices are going to be needed years from now. Because 10 years from now, we're still going to be fighting with the Republican Party unless they do a major shift and turn around.
A major shift, definitely.
And I look at what's going on in Florida and Texas, but I'm going to talk about Florida for a moment. And I still just do not understand. Well, put it like this: I understand the mindset, but the Republicans have done such a great job. And that's one thing Republicans do very well about getting their message across, their wrong message across, their misinformation across to Cuban Americans, where they have just got them hook, line, and sinker that the Democrats are full of socialists, that we're nothing but socialists. And they fled a socialist, country. So they don't want to deal with it. But what Democrats turn around and do is, you send somebody like Bernie Sanders down to Florida to try to, get votes. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. He is. I'm sorry. I've never been a Bernie Sanders, fan, but what he wants and the agenda that he wants is on a socialist platform. He oozes socialism. He's not the face that Democrats should be sending down to places like Florida, where you're trying to get voters to listen to what you have to say and don't vote red, vote blue. But forget politics for a moment. You have a state that is drowning in COVID right now. You have a governor that will do anything possible, in my opinion, to spread COVID more. And these people are still following them. I don't get it. Texas, Governor Abbott, he's just as bad as DeSantis. Do you want people in Texas to die? Do you want people in Florida to die? Do you want children to go back to school and get COVID? DeSantis is threatening to take away the salaries of school superintendents if they try to enforce mask mandates. Now you're going to take away my salary. Now you're going to tell me that I can't feed my family and pay my bills and pay my mortgage or my rent because I'm trying to say wear a mask. The same people who have complained for the last year about schools not being open are the same people who are preventing schools from opening the right way. The same people who are preventing this country and the entire globe from getting back on track. No matter where you are in the world, you have those people who just don't want to wear masks, don't want to be vaccinated, but they're complaining. Here in California, they're complaining about, Governor Newsom, and mask mandates. Really? Okay. I had someone who wanted to meet me for lunch about 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen her in almost a year. And I told her that I don't go to restaurants. I don't go. I haven't been in a restaurant since February of 2020. I don't trust them yet. I stay out of them. I don't care if I'm eating inside, outside. I don't go to restaurants. That's just my choice. But what I asked her was, I said, "Are you vaccinated?" And I knew she wasn't. She voted for the former guy. And she said, "No." I said, "Well, no, sorry. I can't meet with you." And she says, "Well, what if we just, I came over your house or you came over my house?" I said, "Nope, you're not getting in my house. Only time people come in my house is, which is very rare, is I want to see proof of vaccination. And she thought I was crazy. I said, this is my house. This isn't a grocery store that you're going to go into and pick it. This is my home. So
Mhm.
needless to say, she's not speaking to me. Went for a year without speaking to her. I can go another year. But I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's
You
your home
know,
and your right. You have every right to not have people in your home that are not vaccinated. That's just ridiculous.
it is. It is. I mean, I'm freaking out when, last couple of weeks I've had two contractors who've had to come into the house, but each of them when well, one of them had to come in, one of them didn't. But the one that came in, it was like, he was putting on his mask, and before I had a mask in my hand, and before I could say anything, he said, ma'am, do you mind putting on a mask? He said that to me, and I put on my mask. I told him that I was vaccinated. He told me he was vaccinated, and he showed me his he on his phone. He had his card and what have you, and yeah, he said that he told his company that he would not do a job if people were not masked, or and he didn't want to go into the house, and I appreciate it. He came and he did what he had to do, and he left. The other person was in the garage. Our garage door broke, so he was, in the garage. But even still, I still had on a mask, and he didn't have one on. I asked him to put one on, and he said that it was hot in the garage, which it was, and the garage door was going to be down. It was going to be really hot in there and everything. And I understood. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go in the house, or I'll talk to you from over here, whatever. He did what he had to do. He fixed it, whatever. But you know, when you have people, again going back to the church where they're standing on the pulpit saying, don't wear a mask and don't put mask on your children, where you see children are now in the ICUs. They're struggling. And it's something that could have been prevented. So I don't know. I mean, I'm back to double masking when I go out, only because of Delta. You have this Delta Plus that's out there now, whatever. And before it's over, it's going to mutate again into something worse. So as far as I'm concerned, we're in masks, for the long haul, but I don't care. I don't
Just
care.
just a question. I'm not sure because I don't know if I've read it in the news, but this Delta variant that's out there now, is this mainly affecting people that are not vaccinated?
Those are making up the majority of the cases. They do have breakthrough cases of people who have been vaccinated, but the people who get Delta who have been vaccinated, they're saying that their symptoms were like, you know, not as bad, or on the mild side, however you
Oh,
can call
okay.
COVID mild,
Okay.
compared to what is happening now. But this Delta variant is supposed to be worse than what people were getting, like last year when COVID first came out.
Wow.
But what's scary about COVID? This is what is scary to me about COVID. You get the flu, you know, you get the measles, the chicken pox, whatever. You um, you get better, and with the with chicken pox and the measles, depending upon if you scratched or anything like that, it doesn't leave a mark. Everything's gone, and that's it. But with COVID, they're talking long term COVID where, literally, 6, 7 months, a year down the line, you're still struggling to breathe because COVID attacks your lungs. And I just don't understand how people would even want to deal with that. And uh, I don't know if it was Dr. Fauci or if it was another doctor that I was listening to about a month ago. They were saying that Delta is now, a lot of the patients that they're seeing in the hospitals are younger people in their 20s, in their teens and 20s. And this is not the time that you want to get COVID. This is not the time that you want to get sick where you're graduating from school and you're going out into the world to, start a family or start your career or whatever. You don't want to be dealing with COVID. You don't want to be dealing with the after effects of COVID for the rest of your life. And now Biden's talking about, signing a bill where people who have long-term COVID will automatically be covered when they, go to the hospital. But now I have to bring up another point that I want to make since I'm talking about COVID. Think about all the people, and I'm talking about conservatives, who even to this day were and are so against the Affordable Care Act. And if it weren't for the Affordable Care Act, a lot of people who had COVID would not have been able to go to the hospital. They wouldn't have been able to afford to get on that vent. They would not have been covered. Now, granted, some of them passed away, but just think of, the health issues that you would seriously have if you didn't have the Affordable Care Act. I mean, these are the things that I don't understand where, when you mentioned earlier, that conservatives are not doing anything, to help anyone. They aren't. Everything to me that the Republicans are doing in terms of your health, they're trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But you have people who are like, I don't care. I don't care. And I can't listen to well, let me ask you this. When you were at that church, did anyone ever stand up or address him or, openly rebuke what he was saying in terms of voting for the former guy?
From what I understand, because I was a volunteer in the church as well, I was a greeter. And from what I understand from people that were working in the church, like on the level that I was on, that had information from, leaders, a lot of people did confront him, from what I understand, and were not in agreement with him. And he came under fire by lots of people, from what I understand, behind the scenes.
Why do you think the church has become so powerful in politics?
I think because these same leaders, like if you think about it, I always I'm not sure if you heard this, but I remember when I was a child, it had to be, because we were born in the 60s, probably late 60s, several years after President Kennedy had died, after he was assassinated. I remember having a discussion with my father, and I don't know, he was really into the political system, and he was all about civil rights and things like that. And I remember him telling me, and I'm not sure if you've heard this before as well, but I remember him telling me that one of the theories that Kennedy was assassinated for was because they felt with him being Catholic, the Pope would run the country.
That's a believable. I mean, that's possible.
And that was one of the theories that he had read about back, like I said, back in the 60s. But that was supposedly one of the theories why he was assassinated.
So then we could assume that Bobby Kennedy was possibly assassinated because he more than likely probably would have won the nomination, and he was Catholic.
Yep. So there may be some truth to that. I don't know, but you are right. A lot of political figures are very, very involved in the political scene. Was that who was that? Was it that ran for president. Was it Jerry Falwell, or was trying to run for president back in the day?
No, that was not Jerry Falwell. That was
I can
oh, he was running back in I want to say he was running in the early 2000s.
I can't think of who it is. He was one of those
He
television
was to
evangelists, but
television and
I can't remember his name.
he ended up being a news commentator. I can't remember his name. I see his face, but I can't remember
Yeah,
his name. Miss Teresa,
exactly.
welcome, welcome. I can't remember. I don't know. So okay, so let me ask this then, because now we're going back to the '60s. We're talking about Kennedy and being Catholic, what have you. What do you think about Martin Luther King and the fact that a lot of his sermons, or however you want to call it, preachings and speeches, whatever, came from the pulpit. So would you say that that you had the church involved in politics then? Do you think? What do you think about that?
I think so. I mean, even back in the day, Dr. King was a very uh, large figure. I mean, internationally, he was a very large figure, and he was involved. He was involved with the government, trying to make changes. So I think that part of his speeches were political because of the times. We were trying to get voting rights act passed, and we needed the government to do that to institute those rights. They had also the government had established segregation, and that was one of the things that Dr. King was against. So, yeah, politically, he did have a lot to say.
Okay, so then in that case, then should we say that you know Martin Luther King should have stayed out of politics because he was a reverend? I mean, like, what's the difference between what he did back in the '60s and say some church member, saying vote for the former guy or vote for Biden or vote for Hillary or, you know, vote for Clinton, whatever. I mean, what's the difference?
That's a very, very good question. And I think the difference is that back then you saw a lot of people who were not in politics. Like let's look at the Little Rock Nine. These were
Hmm.
kids, and they were getting attacked by violently attacked by other students, and their lives were threatened. You have the voters who were marching, who were getting attacked by police dogs, and um, somebody has to protest and take a stand against this. And I see a little bit of a difference, because you have people's lives that were threatened. You have kids who were barred from having an education. Uh, Someone standing up in a pulpit, you know, preaching about the party, to me is a totally different story when you're talking about a person's life versus death. It's a little bit different to me.
Okay, all right. All right. I mean, I bring it up because you always have, someone who's going to say, yeah, but you're giving
Good
one person a
good
pass,
question.
but
Yeah,
you're
I
not
I, I get
giving,
it.
the other
Yeah.
person a pass. And that's the thing that, not to jump off the subject, but, that's where you look at something like critical race theory, it's like, even these, um, I'm just going to say it, these woke white folks, in my opinion, they really don't want true critical race theory, or the true history of America to come out. They still want it to go just up to a point, because again, I say, what are you going to tell that black child who is sitting in that classroom when you're talking about the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, and they did not come over on that boat? They came over on a different boat. What are you going to say to that person? Are you going to tell them, oh, well, we'll talk about this, next week, and next week never comes?
Good question.
So there's so much hypocrisy that is just entwined in this. I mean, America just seeps in it. It seems like um, no matter what subject or whatever is going on, there's that hypocrisy. Do as I say, not as I do, and it's ruining this country. And I still say that in terms of voting rights, the one thing that Black folks need to do, I still say it, is we need an economic boycott. I'm telling you, we need to do it. We need to be coordinated. We need to do it because one thing that white folks don't like is when you mess with their money.
Yeah.
And when I look back at, and I've been looking and thinking about this more and more, and I've gone back and I've actually, researched how Dr. King, how they organized in 1955 the bus boycott. I looked at how, you had students who were doing the at Woolworth, where they were sitting at the lunch counters, and how they were organized and how they did that, and how Black people stopped shopping at Woolworth. And one store that Black folks really need to stop shopping at, who supports this agenda, this racist agenda, is Walmart. If anything, can we just stop shopping at Walmart? And when they stopped shopping at Woolworth, it made an impact, because Woolworth realized that Black folks, the Negroes, accounted for, a lot of their income. And they ended up having to say, okay, we will allow Black people at the lunch counters. How dare you say that, I can come in and spend my money and you're still treating me like shit, but I can't sit at the lunch counter and get a sandwich that you'll probably spit in? Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just the hypocrisy. When you go back and you look at the movie The Help, it's okay for me to come in and take care of your children, change their diapers, cook your food. But, any other time you don't want to be around me, I'm in your house, I'm touching this, I'm touching that. Your husbands are probably trying to rape me. But I'm not good enough? Really? Just again, I'm getting off onto a whole different subject, and I've talked about this before. It's just that the hypocrisy, and even back on the plantation, you had, pastors and reverends who would come and lie to slaves about what was in the Bible. God wants you to be slaves. No, he doesn't. Even then, politics was in religion, or religion was in politics, because slavery was a political thing. It was a money thing, ka-ching ching, So, it just, it just amazes me how people will go to church every Sunday and listen to people just consistently lie to them. And the thing about it, Shy Lady, I think that they know they're being lied to. They know they're being lied to.
You think so? You really think so?
Okay, I'm about to say something that if someone listens to this recording, they're going to really get mad at me. Then you all must really be some stupid ass people. Some really ignorant, stupid ass people, because how can you not? And I go back to COVID and the vaccines. The people who are telling you not to get it, they've already gotten it. Hell, you saw, back in January, they were cutting in line. They cut the line. And you saw them getting their shots. And they posted it on their Instagrams and their Twitters and stuff. I got the shot. these are the same people who are telling you don't do it or be careful or Dr. Fauci is this and he lies and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rand Paul, one of the biggest people who is he just spars with Dr. Fauci purposely. Any chance that he gets, he got the shot. So why are you sparring with this man?
Yeah, it's a hypocrite.
So again, I'm like, you know, I'm hoping there's a segment of people who believe that is that they're lying, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Hopefully, no one's that gullible.
And I have to remember when Jim Jones was doing the whole Kool-Aid thing. How did Jim Jones shot?
I think he actually drank it too.
I'm gonna have to check that out because I just
Yeah, we have to look back into that.
I am because I look back at people who like they had these suicide pacts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Juju saying that he drank it. Okay. So I'm looking at people who have these suicide pacts and they're like, okay, well, we're both going to kill each other. Then you have that one person who pulls out at the last minute.
Exactly.
It's like, really? Because to me, if you're going to have a suicide pact, then to ensure that both people die, then you shoot me and I'll shoot you. That way we both know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. And even for like for Jim Jones, the whole thing, I think it was called like the People's Temple or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was it.
The fact that even when people were trying to escape, that they had people who were like at the airfield and what have you, who were shooting at them, trying to prevent them from leaving and what have you. And I just don't get it. I mean, I understand that it was a cult and what have you, but to just to believe someone so
that's crazy. It's absolutely nuts.
And that's where we are now. We are with the Jim Jones, and this is the Jim Jones mentality and the Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
But it just offends me when you have pastors stand up in a pulpit and say, we should do this and we should vote this way, or we should do this or do that, because you have no right to say that. And again, I say that they're hypocrites. And one of the biggest things that I don't like about the Republican Party when it comes to abortion and even birth control, it's like you want me to have this baby, and even if it's rape or incest, you want me to have this baby, and I have this baby, but I'm going through some mental issues or whatever, and I can't take care of this baby. Now, all of a sudden, you don't want me to get on welfare. You don't want me to take part in social programs that can help me and this baby. Or you're saying, well, here's another kid, put into the system because you didn't do this. No, you should have stayed out of my business and let me do whatever I need to do. I'm not advocating abortion, but, it's a personal choice. And in the end, I believe that you deal with God.
Yeah.
He's the one that, no matter what you believe in, I do believe there is a higher power. And when it's all said and done with, we're going to have to answer to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter, what you did or how you felt or this person was pissed off. What you think, what I think doesn't matter. But for right now, the involvement of the church in politics has just become dangerous. And unfortunately, it seems like that a lot of people are losing their rights. And if we don't get this voting thing together, I'm telling you, it's going to be worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon we're going to be, like Jewish people wearing stars on our arms or something, because it is getting to that point. But that's all I got. I know I got started late today. I actually fell asleep. So sorry. The alarm went off. I'm like, okay, I got 5 more minutes. No.
Oh,
So,
did you see Juju looked up the information and did a correction on Jim Jones?
okay. All right. So, Gigi, you must have looked that up, because I was wondering if he died of a gunshot wound, because I think Jim Jones, for some reason, I always thought that Jim Jones was a coward, and he couldn't bring himself to drink what everyone else was drinking. And was the gunshot, if it was self-inflicted, was it because there were people like the press and other people there who had come to investigate, and they were possibly going to arrest him? So that's my question about Jim Jones. It's like, were you really being a martyr, or if you did kill yourself, was it because you didn't want to go to prison or whatever? But I wasn't sure whether or not he actually drank the Kool-Aid.
I'm
You
gonna
know,
make it even further question, because I think back in the day, I always had a question: was that actually his body that they found? Did he fake his death and leave? I don't know.
that's a good point. That's a very good point. So I don't know. I don't know. I look at people, who are in cults, and this is another show, but you look at people who are in cults, and you just uh, wonder, especially not when you're young, because I know that when you're young, people can pretty much tell some people anything, and they'll go along with it. But when you're older, and you get hooked up into these cults and what have you, what is it that happened in your life that you would listen to someone who is wanting to do harm to you, who does not have your best interest at heart, but you just listen to them hook, line, and sinker? And I think the GOP, I think the Republicans, I think they're a cult. I do. I think that's how they have turned. They have turned into a cult. And unless something turns around, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. I mean, can you imagine having either Greg Abbott or Ron DeSantis as president of the United States?
I could not imagine and don't want to
I mean,
imagine.
we already went through 5, and I'm saying 5 years of hell.
Yeah.
So right now it's like we have an opportunity to make some changes, and I just think that we are just so slow on the uptake, and I don't know. Maybe God should just blow us all up. I don't know. But okay, again, Shy Lady and Juju, thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate it.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. So, again, I am Solid Blue Sister. This is my turn to talk. I have to say, speak your truth, and I will see you next time. Bye.